You won't believe this. I still find it hard to believe. I believed that I knew my husband after 30 years of marriage. I believed I understood our lives. However, it seems that I have been the ignorant idiot grinning in the background while my husband, Jack, has been living a double life right in front of me. What's the worst? A damn Thanksgiving turkey caused everything to fall apart. Allow me to explain. I've been married to Jack for 30 years, 3 whole decades. He was the kind of person who could light up a room without even trying. He was hilarious and charming, and we met in college. To be honest, he made me feel like the center of his universe, and I fell deeply. Together, we created a life that included 2 grown children, a home we paid off, annual trips, joint retirement plans, and more. We seemed solid to me. Better than solid. For us, Thanksgiving has always been very important. I'm referring to the entire Norman Rockwell spread, which includes pies, mashed potatoes, stuffing, and turkey. To ensure that every dish was flawless, I would spend days preparing. We would all laugh and eat till we were full after Jack would always slice the turkey and say how grateful he was for our family over some cheesy bread. It was customary, our custom. However, everything fell apart completely last Thanksgiving. It began modestly, the sort of thing you would typically ignore. Jack was behaving strangely. He was preoccupied, looking at his phone more frequently than normal, and grinning at texts I couldn't see. Jack is addicted to his phone like a teenager, so it was already strange that he would leave the room to answer calls. I dismissed it as work-related stress, or even a child seeking guidance. A day before Thanksgiving, however, he informed me that he had to leave town due to a work emergency. I recall glaring at him from the other side of the kitchen and asking, "On Thanksgiving?" He groaned and combed through his hair. I know, he said, but it's important. It's a client situation. I'll be back by dinner, promise. Despite my gut's twist, I refrained from pushing. Trust looks like that, doesn't it? Making assumptions about someone? I prepared Thanksgiving dinner by myself. It was too quiet in the house. I was waiting for Jack to get home while the table was empty and our children were with their partners. After that, he didn't. About 7 o'clock, he called. The work thing was taking longer than anticipated, they said, sounded preoccupied, even irritated. In the background, I could hear glasses clinking and laughter. With my heart pounding, I asked, "Where are you?" "A hotel bar," he blurted out. "Don't worry, I'll be home soon." However, he never returned home. Not that evening, not the following morning. Even though I was upset and scared, I clung to the hope that perhaps, just possibly, he was speaking the truth. Then I noticed the charge on my credit card. The following morning, I received the following email: $486.73. The Fairmont Hotel. My motivation is unknown, but I drove directly there. I didn't bother applying makeup at all. My hair was in disarray. When I strode to the front desk to inquire if Jack Morrison was still checking in, I probably looked insane. The woman at the counter smiled at me, courteous yet apprehensive. "Mr. Morrison checked out this morning," she stated. "Around 8 a.m. My mouth became parched. Was he alone?" She paused. I'm sorry, I can't disclose that information. I noticed her face at that moment. That empathetic, a little uneasy look that indicated, "You don't want to know." I turned and walked away. When I arrived at the car, my hands were trembling. I sat there attempting to calm myself and convince myself that there was a rational explanation and that it wasn't what it appeared to be. He might have been accompanied by a client, perhaps, but I already knew in my heart. Jack smelled like shame and pricey soap when he eventually returned home that night. As soon as he entered the room, I demanded, "Where were you?" "Work," he answered, speaking too hastily. He refused to look into my eyes. "At the Fairmont?" His face went completely white. "How?" My voice was quivering with rage as I said, "You left a trail. Genius. Who was she?" Jack sighed as if he were worn out and stroked the back of his neck. "It's not what you think." "Really?" "Because it looks a hell of a lot like you spent Thanksgiving with another woman." "Quiet." "Jack!" I demanded. "Who was it?" His face transformed at that point. I had only ever seen that reserved look when he was attempting to sidestep a conflict. Her name didn't need to be spoken. I already knew, somehow. Jessica. His girlfriend in high school was named Jessica, the one that escaped. After a few beers, he always seemed a bit too sentimental about it. She was blonde, tall, and the effortlessly flawless type of woman that undoubtedly wakes up looking photoshopped. I recall meeting her once at a reunion. The words "you've been seeing her" spilled out of my mouth. It's not like that, he said unsteadily. Then what is it? He let out a sigh and wiped his face. We've stayed in touch. Painfully, my chest clenched. For how long? He didn't respond. Jack, I yelled. 30 years. My heart stopped, I swear. Excuse me? His voice was low, almost contrite, as he said, We've met up. Every Thanksgiving. It started after we got married. I never meant for it to, but it just became a thing. The ground seemed to have vanished beneath me. 30 years. Every Thanksgiving. He had been slinking away to spend time with her, leaving me and our family. I said dangerously. You said you were working. He gave a pathetic shrug. I thought it was better than telling you the truth. I chuckled. In fact, I laughed. My throat ached from a strangled, harsh sound. You thought cheating on me for 3 decades was better than telling me the truth? I had already started to leave when Jack opened his mouth, most likely to defend himself. He called after me and asked, Where are you going? At the door, I turned. I don't know, but I'm not staying here. 30 years of marriage suddenly fell apart like a loose thread. I stayed home that evening. I definitely should have. But it's not that easy to go after 30 years. I spent some time sitting in the car with my hands on the steering wheel and my chest heaving as if I had just finished a marathon. However, where was I meant to go? My parents had long since passed away, and my children had grown up. The house I shared with Jack was the only one I had known for 30 years. I went back inside, which was the pitiful thing to do. Jack remained seated on the couch with his hands covering his face, as if he had been deceived, elbows resting on his knees. For that, I detested him. When I stepped in, he looked up, his eyes bloodshot. You're back, I yelled. Don't look so relieved, as I walked by him and headed for the stairs. Please, I whirled around so quickly that he recoiled. Don't talk to me, I said in a voice that could break glass. Just sleep on the couch or in the guest room. Or better yet, go to Jessica's house since you two are apparently so close. He flinched. It's not like that. I gave a sour laugh. No? Then what is it like? Because from where I'm standing, it sure as hell looks like you've been having an emotional affair, at minimum, for 30 goddamn years. Jack got to his feet and combed through his hair. I didn't sleep with her. I sneered. Oh, congratulations! What a loyal husband you are. It wasn't like that, he repeated, his voice quieter. We would meet up for dinner, just to talk. On Thanksgiving, I narrowed my gaze. You left me alone. Every single year. His lips clenched. I didn't mean to hurt you. You didn't mean to get caught, I clarified. That's what you mean. There was silence between us. My hands were shaking so badly that I had to ball them into fists at my sides, and my heart was pounding. I had the feeling that I had been skinned alive. When I did, I inquired, How did it start? Jack returned to his seat with a sigh. I ran into her at a conference. A couple years after we got married. I tightened my jaw. And instead of telling me, you just, what? Decided to reconnect behind my back? He examined his hands. We grabbed a drink, caught up. It was innocent at first. At first, I said coldly again. Jack drooped his shoulders. It just became a habit. One year, we met up on Thanksgiving because it was the only time that worked. And then, it just kept happening. I cracked. Why Thanksgiving? Why that day? Jack wiped his face with his hands. She didn't have anyone. Her parents passed away, and her siblings live overseas. It was just easier to meet up then. And that was more important than spending the holiday with your wife and kids? Guilt flared in his eyes. I thought you wouldn't notice. Stunned, I gazed at him. Are you serious? You thought I wouldn't notice my husband disappearing every Thanksgiving? That I wouldn't notice that you were never really there? Jack let out a sigh. I was wrong. My chest was heaving as I said, Yeah, you were wrong. Do the kids know? Jack raised his head. What? No! Of course not! I looked closely at him. And if I hadn't found out? Jack paused. I learned everything I needed to know from that pause. My throat constricted as I said, "You would have kept lying. You would have gone off next year. Told me you were working. Left me sitting at the table alone again." He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. I muttered, "You're unbelievable. 30 years, Jack. 30 years of lies. How many Thanksgivings did I sit there, feeling guilty because I thought you were working? How many times did I tell the kids, 'Oh, Dad's just busy when you were off having a cozy dinner with Jessica?'" He gave a head shake. It wasn't like that. With a voice as harsh as glass, I moved closer and asked, "You keep saying that, but you know what it sounds like to me? It sounds exactly like cheating." Jack's face fell flat. "I didn't mean for it to." I raised my hand and said, "Stop. Just stop." His words halted me as I turned to go to the stairs. "I love you." My entire body tensed. Tears burned at the back of my throat as I slowly turned. "You have a funny way of showing it." He appeared to be ruined. It didn't mean anything. Jessica, she was just familiar, comfortable. I blinked. "Comfortable?" Jack persisted. "I never stopped loving you, I swear. Except when you were sitting across from your ex-girlfriend while I was alone. Making excuses for you to our kids," I replied. Jack started to speak, but I had already turned to leave. I managed to climb the stairs this time. As I closed the bedroom door, my hands were trembling. I buried my face in my knees and slipped to the floor. I spent hours sitting there. Every Thanksgiving we'd ever had, every justification, every insignificant incident that I'd dismissed, started playing back in my head. Jack knew exactly where he had been the previous evening when he grinned at me across the table. Jessica, too. It was an acidic name. I was unaware that she had been a part of our marriage for 30 years. The next thing I knew, sunlight was peeking through the curtains, so I must have dozed off on the floor at some point. My cheeks felt tight from dried tears, and my neck hurt. I got to my feet and positioned myself on the dresser. Jack had already left. There was a letter on the counter when I came downstairs. "I'm sorry. I love you. Please don't give up on us." I tossed it in the garbage after crumpling it in my fist. I then sat down at the table, poured myself a cup of coffee, and gazed at the vacant chair across from me. It was too quiet in the house. It was hollow, as if a shell had been left behind after the bones had been removed. The doorbell rang at that moment. When I opened it, my daughter Emily was standing there looking concerned. "Mom? What's going on?" I took a deep breath. "What do you mean?" She raised her phone. "Dad texted me. Said you guys aren't taking a break." I drew a trembling breath and closed my eyes. "Come in!" With her eyes flitting to the crumpled paper in the garbage, Emily trailed me into the kitchen. "Mom, what happened?" I rubbed my temples after taking a seat at the table. "Your father," I uttered those words. "He's been lying to us. For a long time." Emily's expression clouded. "What did he do?" I let out a trembling breath. "He's been spending Thanksgiving with Jessica." Emily was stunned. "Jessica? As in Jessica?" I gave a nod. Emily took a firm seat. "Are you kidding me?" I gave a sour laugh. "Wish I was." Emily's mouth twisted in disdain as she leaned back. "Dad is an idiot." I looked at the table and said, Yeah, he is." Emily grabbed my hand and gave it a squeeze. "So, what happens now?" I took a deep breath. "I don't know." That was the reality. Although I was unsure of our future course, I was certain that nothing would ever be the same. For the following several days, I didn't talk to Jack. He slept in the guest room. But to be honest, I didn't give a damn. In any case, I hardly saw him. We would walk past each other like strangers in our own home, as he left early for work and returned late. Every day, Emily checked in. She would occasionally just show up with dinner or coffee, or she would text. I believe she was afraid I would collapse. To be honest, I was too, but I stopped crying. The scariest part was that I simply felt empty, as if the soft portions of me had been removed and the shell had been left behind. When I awoke on the fourth day, Jack was seated at the kitchen table. In front of him was a cup of coffee, but he wasn't sipping it. He sat there, looking down at the table as if he could see through it. I paused in the hallway. I wanted to leave. but something about his sitting position, with his head hung low and his shoulders sagged, stopped me. With a flat morning, I said. Jack's head snapped upward. He looked like he hadn't slept for days because his eyes were bloodshot. Hey, I took a seat across from him after pouring myself a cup of coffee. For a minute, we sat in silence. There was only the distant sound of a neighbor cutting their lawn and the hum of the refrigerator. Jack cleared his throat. Talked to Jessica. I jerked my head up. Excuse me? I told her I can't see her anymore. A stinging, frigid sensation rushed across my chest. That's it? 30 years of lies. And you think cutting her off makes it all better? No, answered Jack hastily. He rubbed his hands over his face and said, I needed to end it. She was upset, obviously. The words poor Jessica, I remarked icily. Jack winced. I'm not asking you to feel sorry for her. Good, I replied. Because I don't. Jack let out a sigh. I know I screwed up. Screwed up? I said gravely. Jack, you didn't leave the oven on. You didn't forget an anniversary. You lied to me for 30 years. You made me feel small, unimportant. Jack's face fell flat. I know. My throat constricted as I said. No, I don't think you do. Do you know how many Thanksgivings I sat there, watching the kids laugh and thinking, it's fine, Jack's working, he's doing this for us? How many times I told myself not to be selfish, not to resent you, when you were actually sitting across from her. Tears glistened in Jack's eyes. I know, I gave a head shake. No, you don't. Because if you did, you wouldn't have done it. Jack started to speak, but I interrupted him. And the worst part? It's not even the cheating. Jack stopped. It's that you made me feel crazy. You made me feel like I was overreacting when you'd miss Thanksgiving. You made me defend you to our kids, to myself. I thought I was imagining things, but I wasn't. Was I? Jack's face fell flat. No, my eyes hurt with tears. You stole 30 Thanksgivings from me, from our family. And for what? Because Jessica was comfortable. Jack put his hands to his head. I could see he was crying because his shoulders were shaking. Excellent. I didn't mean to hurt you, he said in a whisper. You didn't mean to get caught, I clarified. Jack raised his head, his eyes puffy and red. I love you, I sneered. Stop saying that. Love isn't lying. Love isn't abandoning your wife and kids for another woman. Love isn't making me feel like an afterthought. Jack's face contorted in agony. I'm sorry. Yeah, I replied sourly. You're sorry because you got caught. Jack was about to reply when Emily entered via the open front door. After glancing at us, she scowled. Should I leave? No, I replied. Sit down. After hesitating, Emily took a seat beside me and asked, So, what's going on? Your dad was just explaining why he chose Jessica over us for 30 years, I replied calmly. Anger surged in Emily's eyes. Seriously? Jack let out a sigh. It wasn't like that. Emily squinted her eyes. Really? Because it sure sounds like that. Jack looked down at the table. Emily gave a headshake. You know, I always thought it was work. One used to tell my friends, oh, my dad works so hard. Meanwhile, you were sneaking off to play house with Jessica? Jack massaged his face with his hands. It wasn't like that, Emily asked sharply. Then what was it? Jack paused. Exactly, Emily replied. You don't even have an answer. I didn't mean for it to turn into. Stop, yelled Emily. Just stop. Jack closed his mouth abruptly. What are you going to do? Emily asked, turning to face me. My stomach turned over. I don't know. Emily's expression softened. Mom, my voice trembled as I said, I don't know how to forgive him. Or if I even want to. Jack's face fell flat. Please, give me a chance to fix this. Emily laughed. 30 years too late, Dad. Jack winced. I love your mother. Anger surged in Emily's eyes. You sure had a funny way of showing it. Jack drooped his shoulders. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. Either of you. But I can't lose you. I gave a head shake. You should have thought of that before you made Jessica a priority for 30 years. Emily folded her arms. So what now? Jack had a desperate look in his eyes. Please, just give me a chance to make it right. Emily laughed. How exactly? Are you going to invent a time machine and give Mom back the 30 Thanksgivings you stole from her? Jack appeared to be in ruins. I got to my feet. I need time. Jack's eyes got bigger. Please, I extended my hand. No, you don't get to rush me. Jack's lips became a thin line. His voice sounded scratchy as he said, Okay, take the time you need. I gave Emily a nod. Let's go. Emily picked up her purse and stood up. As we made our way to the door, Jack's gaze followed us. His words were, I love you. I didn't look back. You should have loved me more when it counted. I went out the door with Emily. I had no idea where we were going, maybe for coffee, perhaps simply for a drive, but I was certain of one thing. I wasn't prepared to pardon him. Not quite yet. The house was oppressive. I could no longer bear to be there after that talk with Jack. Every part of the house felt eerie. Even the living room where I had sat with the kids watching football and the kitchen where I had prepared Thanksgiving meals by myself. I had also convinced myself that Jack wasn't there. I had slept alone in that bedroom more times than I could remember, believing he was working late when in reality he was with her. So I went out. I called Emily, packed a little suitcase, and told her I had to leave for a bit. She simply stated, Be there in 10, without even asking why. I arrived downstairs with my backpack over my shoulder and found Jack seated on the couch. When he saw it, his face tensed. Where are you going? I continued to walk. Away. Jack got up and said, Wait, please, I said. I need space without looking back. Jack's voice broke. You're leaving? For now. Jack inhaled nervously. Will you come back? I paused at the entrance. I don't know. I didn't turn around when Jack made a broken sound. When Emily's car arrived, I left without saying anything more. When I got in, Emily didn't ask any questions. Hotel or my place? She asked after taking a quick look at my suitcase. Your place. After giving a nod, she left the driveway. For the majority of the ride, we were silent. My mind was racing, not with ideas, but with sounds. Not moving. It seemed as though my brain was unable to keep up with the amount of information it was trying to comprehend at once. After a time, Emily finally said something. Do you think he really ended things with Jessica? I let out a sigh. I don't know. He says he did. Emily gripped the steering wheel with tighter knuckles. Do you believe him? I remarked sourly. Do I believe the man who lied to me for 30 years? Emily laughed. Yeah, that's what I thought. She cut the engine as she entered her apartment building's parking lot. You want to go up? Or you want to sit here a while? Let's sit. For a minute, we sat in silence. The car's interior appears both too bright and too dark due to the streetlight's drab yellow hue. I don't know how to forgive him, I said. Even if he really did cut her off, how do I get past the fact that he lied to me for 30 years? Emily let out a sigh. I don't think you do. I think you either decide to live with it, or you leave. A sharp squeezing went through my chest. I don't know if I can leave. We've been together for so long. Emily's gaze grew softer. But have you been happy? I wasn't prepared for that question to hit so deeply. Had I been content? I recalled all the Thanksgivings I had spent by myself, grinning despite my suffering for the benefit of the children. Jack missed the birthdays. He skipped past the anniversaries. He was too busy to take family vacations on the weekends. Had I been content? Or had I simply been getting by? Emily grabbed my hand and gave it a squeeze. You don't owe him forgiveness. He's the one who ruined this, not you. I know, I said in a whisper. However, it wasn't any easier knowing it. Emily's cell rang. She frowned as she looked at it. It's Dad, she acknowledged. I gave my temples a rub. Let me guess, he's asking if I'm okay? More like begging me to tell him where you are, she murmured. Want me to tell him to back off? I paused and said, No, just ignore him for now. Emily put her phone down and nodded. After a while, Emily showed me her guest room upstairs. It was quiet, although a touch claustrophobic, and silence was just what I needed right now. That night, I woke up and stared at the ceiling. My mind refused to stop working. What if his relationship with Jessica was indeed over? What if he truly apologized? What if this was my final opportunity to make things right? Then, however, another idea entered. What if his only regret was that he had been caught? Jack had left me a dozen missed calls and texts. When I woke up the following day, I paid them all no attention. Jack's texts had changed from apologetic to guilt-tripping by the third day. I don't know how to live without you. I can't sleep knowing you hate me. Please, just talk to me. Then comes the kicker. Jessica reached out. My phone almost fell across the room. I gave Jack a call right away. The first ring caught his attention. I yelled, "What do you mean she reached out?" Jack spoke in a strained tone. She texted me last night, said she needed to talk, and I told her I couldn't, that it was over. I clenched my jaw. Then why tell me? Jack paused. Because I don't want to hide things from you anymore. I chuckled icily. Now you decide to be honest? Jack's tone grew softer. I'm trying, okay? Trying. I grew sterner. You think trying makes up for 30 years of lies? Jack muttered. I'm not asking you to forgive me overnight, but I love you, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make this right. I rubbed my temples and moaned. I don't know if you can, but can I try? I didn't respond. Emily discovered me sitting on the couch with my phone in hand after I hung up. What did he say? I said. He wants to fix it. Emily's jaw clenched. Do you? I don't know. I was seated next to Emily, who said, You know, maybe you don't have to decide right now. And what do I do in the meantime? I asked, leaning back as the weight of everything pressed down on me. Emily gave a shrug. Live. I gave a small smile. I forgot how to do that. Emily returned the smile. Then maybe it's time to remember. I scheduled a solitary beach excursion for the next day. Only a week away. Nothing spectacular. I declined Emily's invitation to accompany me. I needed solitude. The night before I went, Jack called. A part of me needed to hear what he had to say, but I nearly didn't respond. He said, Where are you going? I murmured, I need space. Jack was silent for a while. Will you come back? I don't know. Jack's voice broke. Okay. After I hung up, I perched on the edge of my bed and gazed at the dark sky outside the window. I doubted that I would return. However, for the first time in a long time, the world didn't seem to be ending. I returned 2 weeks later. It's not that I missed Jack. It's not that I pardoned him. Whether it meant repairing our marriage or leaving for good, I returned because I was prepared to face whatever was ahead. I pulled up and saw Jack waiting in the driveway. When he spotted me, his countenance brightened, but he also exhibited reluctance, as if he wasn't sure if I would stay. Hey, he murmured. Hey. I picked up my luggage and headed into the home, with his hands in his pockets, and his eyes on me as if I could vanish again if he blinked too long. Jack hovered close by. He inquired, How was the trip? I put my luggage down beside the door and said, Good. It was. Quiet. Jack gave a small smile. You always said you wanted a quiet beach trip. I didn't return the smile. Yeah. Although Jack's eyes darkened, he remained silent. He simply trailed me inside the house. As I unloaded, there was a long pause between us. Jack watched me with that cautious look from where he sat on the edge of the bed, as if he was afraid to push too hard and have me run again. I'm glad you came back, he stated at the end. I put my empty suitcase away after zipping it up. I'm not sure if I'm staying. Jack took a deep breath. I know. I turned away from him and took a seat on the bed's edge. Why didn't you tell me the truth sooner? Jack massaged his face with his hands. Because I was a coward, and because I thought, if I told you, you'd leave me. I gave a sour laugh. And lying was supposed to make me stay? Jack flinched. I thought I could keep it separate. I thought, as long as I didn't let it interfere with our life, it didn't count. My stomach turned over. It didn't count? Jack's eyes got bigger. No, I didn't mean you were emotionally involved with her for 30 years, I replied coldly. That counts. Jack drooped his shoulders. You're right. It does. We sat in silence for a long time. At last, I asked, Why now? Jack blinked. What do you mean? Why cut her off now? After 30 years. Jack bobbed his throat. Because I realized I was about to lose you. I let out a sigh. You already lost me. Jack lowered his head into his palms. Then why did you come back? I paused. To see if there's anything left worth saving. Jack's eyes met mine abruptly. Is there? I don't know yet. With his hand lingering over mine, Jack scooted closer. Let me show you that I can be better. I withdrew my hand. You don't just get to be better now because you got caught. Jack's face contorted in shame. I know, but I'm willing to try. If you'll let me. I got to my feet and moved away from him. Trying isn't enough, Jack. You need to prove it. Jack gave a slow nod. I will. Jack attempted during the next 3 weeks. Hard. He began arriving home from work early. He organized evenings for dates. Sometimes he even started preparing dinner. Jack's food was never good, but I could see he was trying. When I needed space, he didn't press. He didn't beg for pardon. He simply appeared, regularly. We were enjoying a glass of wine together one evening. While lounging on the back patio, the sun was sinking in pink and gold streaks, and the air was cold. Jack grabbed my hand. I gave him permission. He muttered, I don't expect you to forgive me, but I hope you'll let me earn it. His rough, familiar fingers were intertwined with mine as I glanced down at our hands. I said, I'm not ready to forgive you. Jack gave a nod. That's fair, but I'm willing to see if you mean it. Jack's gaze grew softer. That's all I'm asking. Jessica texted him once more the following day. I didn't ask Jack to show me the message. I miss you. Please talk to me. He gave the phone to me. What should I do? I took a moment to look at the message. I then returned the phone. Block her. Jack didn't think twice. He banned her number and erased the message. I gave a trembling breath. Thank you. Jack gave a sorrowful smile. No more secrets. After that, we moved slowly. To my astonishment, Jack was the one who proposed that we begin therapy. I had never seen him open up like this before. He told me how Jessica restored his sense of youth and how he persuaded himself that it was only emotional and not dishonest. He acknowledged his mistake. How self-centered. I also shared with him how lonely I had been. Every Thanksgiving he missed, I felt so little and unimportant. How I persuaded myself that I was the issue and that he would appear if I just put in more effort. We spent a lot of time sitting in the car one evening following a session. Do you think you can trust me again? Jack asked, at last. I don't know, I responded plainly. But I'm willing to try. Jack grabbed my hand as he reached across. He had a firm, warm grip. I'm not giving up on us, he added quietly. I gave his hand a squeeze. Then don't give me a reason to. It was Thanksgiving once more. This time, Jack was at home. He assisted me in the kitchen. He arranged the table. He saw to it that the children had all they required. When the lunch was finished and we were seated on the couch while the grandchildren were playing, Jack leaned in and said, Thank you for giving me another chance. I gave a small smile. Don't waste it. Jack gave me a forehead kiss. I won't. We weren't flawless. The foundation still had fissures in it. However, this is the first occasion in a long time when we might be all right, it seemed.